I want to share with you a formula that you absolutely must know if you have any desire of growing your Shopify store to 6-7 figures and beyond. Because once you understand this formula, you're going to be able to make better decisions, place your focus in the right parts of your business, and predict the numbers of customers and the profitability of your campaigns no matter where you're driving the traffic from. This is the exact formula that I used to generate over $1.1 million in the first 12 months of the Shopify store here. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Chris Heckman. I did over $25 million in e-commerce sales by the age of 29. And all of the brands that I grew centered around this specific formula that I'm about to share with you. And even more than that, all of the massive leaps and successes that we had in the business came when we had this formula completely dialed in. And what I see from working with Shopify sellers in our online communities is that a lot of the times Shopify sellers just kind of mess around with different areas of the business, just kind of walking around with their blinders on, never really sure about like what they should actually be doing and what part of their business really needs their focus and attention. And so what that ends up looking like is them spending time on this thing way over here when in reality what they actually should be working on and what needs their attention the most is right here in front of them. And the formula we're going to be talking about is the ROAS formula, aka return on ad spend. You might be thinking, I know what a ROAS is. And yeah, so did I. And it took me years before I finally realized that I was looking at it the complete wrong way, because it is so much more than just the return on our ad spend. And so let's break it down into the specific pieces of this formula. So the ROAS at a high level is the return on ad spend, which is earnings per session divided by cost per session. So if we're making $2 per session on our Shopify store and we're paying $1 per session, then that means we have a ROAS of 2. Pretty simple. Now breaking it down even further, our earnings per session is specifically the conversion rate times our average order value. Now the conversion rate is the percentage of people that come to our website and actually convert into a sale. So if we have 100 sessions on the site and 5 of those people purchase, that'd be a conversion rate of a 5. Then within our conversion rate, we have our add to cart percentage, our reach checkout percentage, and then finally our sessions converted, aka our conversion rate. Now add to cart is the percentage of people who land on either our home, collection, or product page and then add a product to their cart. Reach checkout is the percentage of people who added a product to cart and then actually reached the checkout page. And then sessions converted is the percentage of people who reach the checkout page and then also actually complete the purchase and get to the very end and reach the thank you page. So that's conversion rate. And then our average order value is how much the average customer is spending with us. To give an easy example, if we had 100 orders and we had $5,000 in sales, that would mean we had a $50 average order value. So for example, in December, we had $160,000 in sales, 3,356 orders, which dividing 160,000 by 3,300 gives us $44 average order value. So combining those two numbers, conversion rate times average order value, say in this month, we had a 3% conversion rate and a $44 average order value. So in the month of December, with our 3% conversion rate and our $44 average order value, that means that we were making $1.33 per session. Now, as an important side note, this average order value does not count the shipping revenue. Shopify puts that in a separate category. So on average, the average shipping that each customer is paying was around another $5 or so. But for the sake of these examples, we're not going to be counting that. So that's how we calculate our earnings per session. Now let's talk about the bottom part of the equation, which is our cost per session. So the cost per session is equal to the cost per link click, or the cost for the traffic on whichever platform, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Google, TikTok, paying an affiliate to send traffic to our site. Whatever we pay per click on that platform, our cost per session is similar, but it's not quite equal to that. Now, why is that? Why wouldn't just the cost for that traffic be equal to the cost for that session? And that's because while in a perfect world, they would be exactly equal, but what that's not factoring for is the drop off. And that is that a certain percentage of people, when they click on an ad, whether it's on Facebook, TikTok, wherever, they are not going to wait around long enough for the site to load. And so what we see on our sites, and it's pretty typical, is anywhere from 10 to 20% drop off. So the way that we account for that in our formula is cost per link click divided by 1 minus the drop off percentage. So if say we had a $1 cost per link click and we had a 20% drop off, that results in us having a $1.25 cost per session. Now, if we were to go a level even deeper into the cost per link click, what are the factors that calculate that for us? And the cost per link click is probably one of my personal favorite calculations, kind of a, I don't know, stats nerd, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's cool because the cost per link click is our CPMs divided by our CTR times 1,000. So CPMs is cost per melee or cost per 1,000 impressions. Then CTR is the link click-through rate. So basically what we're doing is we're looking at how much are we getting charged per 1,000 impressions. Anywhere from like 10 to 20 bucks is pretty normal. Then we're dividing by our link click-through rate divided by 1,000 or times 1,000 rather. And the link click-through rate is out of 100 people see your ad, how many of those people are clicking on it. And the reason that it's worthwhile to dig even deeper into those metrics there, like the cost per click, we don't want to just stop there. We want to dig even deeper and look at the link click-through rate and the CPMs because they paint a story for us of each part of our overall ROAS equation. And the reason that this is so valuable is when we dive deeper into the metrics, it starts to paint a story for us and show us specifically where our time is best spent. So if we bring it all together, our ROAS equals our conversion rate times our average order value. That's the top part of the equation. And it's divided by our CPM divided by the CTR times 1,000. That gives us this CPC. And then that's divided by 1 minus the drop-off percentage. And that gives us our cost per session. So I'm going to say that one more time. We have our conversion rate times average order value. That's the top. That gives us our earnings per session. Then for the bottom, our cost per session is the CPC, which is CPM over CTR times 1,000. That's CPC times the 1 minus the drop-off percentage. And that gives us our cost per session. So bringing it back up to the top, earnings per session divided by cost per session. Now, why are we doing that? Why are we breaking it down to this kind of level? Let's look at some simple examples. Say we have a 3% conversion rate, a $40 average order value, and a $1 cost per session. That would give us a ROAS of 1.2. But then say we increase the conversion rate by 1% or 33%, relatively, that would increase the ROAS to 1.6, which is interesting. But now this is where it gets really interesting, is like, okay, we could have put all of our focus into increasing our conversion rate by that 1%, a 33% bump. But if we were able to just cut the cost of our traffic by 50 cents, that would double the ROAS to 2.4. And furthermore, if we're able to shave off another 25 cents, that would quadruple the ROAS up to a 4.8. And that's without making any changes to our website, any changes to the conversion rate or to the average order value. Just seeing where the little levers that we're able to pull and then seeing the impact that it has on our overall ROAS, because we broke it down to the minutia, to like the fine-tuned details, it gives us so much power because we actually know where to place our focus. And to give you some baseline metrics for like Shopify print-on-demand brands, for example, well, we generally target, like you can see here, around a 3% conversion rate, with roughly a 7 to 8% added to cart rate, around 5 to 6% reach checkout, and then around 2.5 to 3% sessions converted, then average order value of around $44. And then our cost per link click is around 50 to 75 cents with like a 10 to 15% drop off. So like in the month of December, our earnings per session was $1.33 and our cost per session was around like 65 cents. Now, a couple of like system breakers or like outliers to consider for this overall equation is that just breaking it down into ROAS this way is under the assumption that 100% of the sessions are driven by paid ads, which is obviously not the case. So there's two different ways that we can account for that. Number one is we could use an ad tracking software such as ROAS or Triple Whale, which is able to break down the cost per session from each of our traffic sources, as well as track the return that we got from each of those sources. So it's able to break out and show like Facebook ads sent this many sessions, those sessions converted into this many sales. Or the other way we could do it is looking at our MER, or marketing efficiency ratio, which is just the easier way to do it. It's a little bit less of an exact science, but it's basically if we were to just take all of our sessions divided by our total ad spend, that would give us our marketing efficiency ratio. So like in the month of December, we only spent about 50, actually, let me get the exact number. So I just fact checked myself on the computer. And in the month of December, we spent $52,000 on ads. So we had a great deal of our traffic being sent from email marketing. So overall, our cost per session on those sessions is dramatically cheaper. It's literally just the cost of our email marketing, but it's still a good exercise to look into like on your paid ad side breaking it down like your earnings per session, your cost per session, and then drilling down even further into your cost per session by looking at the three main metrics that make it up, which is your click-through rate, your CPM, and then your drop-off. And the drop-off is a really sneaky one that I wasn't tracking for the longest time. And it took me many months of like down sales with like good traffic costs. Like our cost per link click was good. Our conversion rate was decent. Our average order value was solid. And I was like, what is going on? Why is just our ROAS down? Until one day it hit me. I'm like, we sent like 5,000 link clicks today and we only had like 3,000 sessions on the site. I'm like, and that's like, some of those sessions were email marketing. And it wasn't until that moment that it finally hit me. I'm like, oh, there's a big drop off happening. And then I dove even deeper and looked into our site speed and saw that it was so slow that like nobody was waiting. And at that time, our drop off was like around 40%. It was pretty dramatic. And so once we saw that, we dove in, hired a developer to speed up the site, deleted a bunch of apps, cleaned it out, and our ROAS shot through the roof. And if I had been tracking the formula this way, I would have caught it that much faster. That's why now what I recommend to everybody, like in the 21-hour course, you can go check this out, or to everybody in WeScale where we do like group coaching calls and jump on the phone and like check out your ads with you. One of the first things that we check is we break down this formula and see exactly what's going on in your business. And we don't just look at things from a high level, just like ROAS. We break it down and get into the fine-tuned details. Last thing I'll point out is that there are some like system breakers that kind of throw off this whole formula. Like, for example, is that if I were to change my Facebook optimization from conversions to traffic, then I could drive super cheap link clicks, but then our conversion rate would jump off a cliff. So that's where, again, one of the first things that I check whenever I'm looking at somebody's ad account is I make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, that we're using the baseline metrics the right way. Like, we're optimized for conversions. We're talking about US targeting. We're not like getting hit with a bunch of, really bad like international targeting traffic. Like, we make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. And that's where, when we are doing that, we isolate as many variables as possible. Then this formula is super effective because it can paint a really complete picture for us. So that if I see like that, conversion rate is at 3%, but our average order value is at 32, and our cost per link click is 50, and our drop off is just 15%, then immediately I know that the reason that the ROAS is low is because, we need to improve the average order value. And it's also cool. It's like a party trick that if, you just see somebody's click-through rate and their CPMs, now you immediately know what their cost per link click is. Like if it's a $10 CPM and 1% click-through rate, that's a $1 cost per click. And then if you have $1 cost per click and like 5% conversion rate, $50 average order value, it'd be a 0.5. That's really bad. But that's a great example of like you could increase the conversion rate by 1%, and that's a pretty easy jump, and that doubles it. But then if you increase the conversion rate to 2%, and then you cut the cost per link click to 50 cents, then you just took your ROAS from a 0.5 to a 2. Then if you can increase your average order value from 50 to 55, and that's a 10% increase, and you're at a 2.2. And so just looking at it that way, it helps you see like where your time is best spent, and like having the benchmarks to see like, we know that 50 to 75 cents is a range you can get to. We know that 3 to 4% conversion rate is also doable, $45 to $50 average order value. So if you're way outside of any one of those ranges, that would be the first place that I would look and focus on how to improve those things. And if you're like, that's great, how do I improve them? Go check out the 21-hour course. We break it down in a lot greater detail than we can do here. But I hope you enjoy these kind of videos. If you want to see more content like this, where we dive into the metrics and explain like kind of the mental frameworks and stuff behind the decision making, be sure to comment down below and let me know. I'm happy to make more like these. They're a lot of fun. A little bit nerdy, but I find it fun. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.